Hello, Cleveland, and welcome back to another edition of the Dogland Podcast. It is February 24th, 2022. Uh, we are out of the off-season roster deep dive series. We're getting back to our traditional format of shows. We got the combine coming up, free agency in a couple weeks. Going to start talking Browns news, Browns rumors, all types of stuff leading up to the NFL draft. I am your host, Jackson McCurry. And joining me, as usual, as always, is my co-host, Anthony Jokey. Anthony, how you doing, man? It's been a couple weeks.
It has been a couple weeks. I've been working myself really, really hard. But, sometimes you just got to do that. Last week I worked all 7 days. So, it's been a struggle. But, it's always fun to get on here and talk Browns. And speaking of February 24th, we have a couple birthdays today. One is our good friend, Stephen Thomas of the OBR. And then today's my sister's birthday, too. So definitely going to wish both of them a happy birthday on this 24th.
Yeah, for sure. Steven's been on the show numerous amount of times. Hoping to have him on again as we inch closer to the draft, because he is a madman when it comes to looking at draft talent, looking how they can fit the Browns going forward. Obviously does great work over at the OBR. He is, a man of the seas now that he's back on the ocean. I would say back on the road, but he's back on the water doing his comedy tour.
Works.
Yeah. So hopefully we get to talk with Steven, but happy birthday to him and happy birthday to your sister as well. Anthony, does she listen to the podcast?
No, but I'll make her listen to this one just to get the happy birthday message out of it.
Yes. So to Anthony's sister, when you do listen to this, happy birthday. Hope it's a great one. But Anthony, we're kind of out of the loop for the most part these days when it comes to the Browns news, because both you have been taking a Twitter hiatus, and then this week I finally was like, you know what, enough's enough. I need a break and God loves some of the people on Browns Twitter. We've met some good ones, we've interacted with some great ones, but the toxicity that has been brewing from the fan base on that app since towards the end of the season has finally reached my boiling point. And I was just like, you know what, I need a break. And I would tell you, like, the last couple of days, and I know for the last couple of weeks for you, it's been good, but getting off that app and just clearing my mind and, to quote Aaron Rodgers, taking a cleanse of some sorts. It's like, it was so much needed this week. And I think like my mind's in a good place. I'm going to take a little bit more time, and I'll be back for people that find us through Twitter. But I just needed a break from it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm kind of glad that you did. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time away from there. I kind of got on a little bit during All-Star weekend with the Cavs and the NBA because it was kind of fun to interact in that aspect and just kind of read all the different stuff that was going on. But I think it's been like 5 weeks now for me, and I don't miss it. I really don't. I deleted the thing off my phone. Anytime I look at it, it's on my computer. So I mean, it's nice to get away. I definitely a little disconnected from news and such, especially all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. But it's I encourage people to sometimes just taking a step back, getting away from social media for a while is a fun thing. You'll enjoy it, and it's been about a good month not being on that app and not reading the constant points that are rehashed day after day after day. I mean, I don't know how many times you could have the same conversation without driving your own self crazy. So it's nice to take that break.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, like the last week before Monday, when I hit like my breaking point, I was having good interactions with people, hopped in a couple Twitter spaces, and we were having good conversations. Sunday before, the Daytona 500, I was in a Browns space with some people, and we weren't talking about Baker Mayfield. We were talking about, the wide receiver position, other positions that need in the draft and free agency. And it was good conversations. And then, lo and behold, like Monday, it was something about Jarvis Landry, who we're going to get to because he's going to be the main crux of this episode. Something about him liking an OBJ tweet. And it was like, oh, we have to have a serious discussion about this tonight on an emergency Twitter space. And I'm not singling anybody out because it's a group of people. And I'm just like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, why are we criticizing a wide receiver on this team who is best friends with a wide receiver who's not on this team anymore? It's like, it's the same crap over and over again. And I was just like, you know what? I need a break from it. I can't take this crap anymore.
You know what it's like? It's like those people, like after a breakup, where you go and creep on their page and pay attention to everything they do. You look around to see whose posts they're liking, and you just like drive yourself crazy thinking of all these scenarios. Were they talking to this person while we were still dating? And it's like a whole bunch of nonsense. And it's part of the reason why I took a break. And if people want to do that, fine. If that's what they want to do in their free time, they want to obsess over it, that's perfectly fine. But it's not healthy to do it day after day.
It's really not. And, I find myself, I'm probably going to go back on it here, probably next week, honestly, just because the combine's coming up, just because we know the rumors are going to start heating up as it pertains to, potential trade rumors, free agency rumors, because this is where the groundwork really gets laid in Indianapolis for the combine. But I think I'm going to clean up my timeline. I think I'm going to, cut out some followers, some people that I follow, and just, kind of tighten that circle. Like, who am I going to follow? Whose content do I want to read? And then just start like muting like other stuff that I really don't need to see on my Twitter timeline.
You know what I would do? And I'm thinking about doing this too. Make lists, make Twitter lists. You could do it on, I forget what that, TweetDeck. You could do it, but
yeah,
you could do it within the Twitter app as well. Just like go in there, put like a whole bunch of people that you would follow for the combine on there, and just read those. That's the important stuff anyway. And you could do it for a few different things. Maybe that's what I'll do if I get back on. Is just kind of make these very specific lists, and then mute some other stuff, like you, and just focus on that and read that, because that is the important thing. Because we're in the off season, the draft is coming, free agency's coming. Like you mentioned, the combine, everybody gets together, and all the rumors start. This is where the OBJ thing picked up a few years ago. So, it's certainly something to pay attention to, because there's going to be a lot of newsworthy stuff, and the quarterback carousel could certainly get off to a start at the combine. With Rodgers and Wilson and Watson and everybody else. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. So maybe we could just like focus down to a list of specific people and focus on that and kind of tune out all the other noise.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a great idea. Now that we got that out of the way, now that I got to vent for a little bit, and then let's get down to business here. We mentioned Jarvis Landry just a few minutes ago. He is the big topic this week as it pertains to the Cleveland Browns. I want to say it was Tuesday morning. It was just funny because it was like the first full day I was without Twitter. And then our buddy Jack Duffin and my buddy Joe Becerra sent me screenshots, and they're like, Jarvis finally broke his silence. And I'm like, oh, man, because it was just a line of tweets. And he's been silent practically since OBJ left. He did one interview with the media during a Thanksgiving charity event that he had around November, and that was the last time he talked. He was silent from the time OBJ left until now. And he went on these lists of tweets. I'm going to read them real quick, and then we'll get our thoughts on it. But it's funny because we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with Jarvis Landry. We know he's entering the final year of his deal. Most likely was going to be a cap cut because of his high cap number, but Landry breaks his silence, and he says, Reality behind all this is I came back to play in the best shape of my life. I got hurt week 2 with a high grade MCL sprain, a partial quad tear, and a bone bruise. Then came back way too early and ended up staying hurt the entire season. You never heard me mention anything about it. And also, my media availability didn't happen because I was focused on getting on the field as healthy as possible during the week and after games. A strategic plan was set in place to be followed. I put the ball in Cleveland's court by telling them I would like to stay, but if not, hold on, there was. But if not, then I'm confident enough in myself to be a better, healthy me this year and moving forward to helping do my part in winning a championship elsewhere. Before this year, I missed 0 games, so push y'all narrative. It's noted. I gave everything, everything, and that last sentence was in capital letters, all capital letters. So the media picked it up, and it was funny to me, Anthony, because ESPN immediately, because it was on Get Up, Greeny was there with Jeremy Fowler. And Jeremy Fowler says that, the Browns could be able to trade Jarvis Landry. And that just baffled me because he's on an expiring contract. I think they treated Landry like he's like an NBA player. Like he's on an expiring contract. He's got great value. He's easy to trade. I don't think Jarvis Landry has any trade value. But before we get to that, before we get to his future, what was your thoughts? Because I sent you the screenshot of the tweets. Like when you seen Landry go on his little rant, what was your immediate reaction to it?
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time since we heard from him. And I was wondering like when we would, because you really didn't hear anything after the season ended. So, just hearing him break his silence, we kind of heard a little bit, during Super Bowl week with him and Odell and whatnot on the Zoom call interview thing. But I mean, I don't see an issue with anything that he said. I mean, it's pretty much all true. I didn't know about, obviously, the injury revelation is something, we didn't know. But, the ball is in Cleveland's court, or Cleveland's bag if it's a football. I'm not entirely sure. The ball's on the tee, maybe. We'll have to come up with a reference for that one. But he's due $16 million this year. I certainly don't expect the Browns to, and when I say Browns, Andrew Berry and company, to keep him on this team at that dollar value. Now, if they can work out an extension to where they can lower that cap number and, it's maybe like a third of that, or maybe 40% of that, I could see him still being here. But, I don't think moving forward, I don't think he's going to be here. And it's just the way, his contract set up. And it's a lot to spend on a guy who is at a premium position who isn't really a game changer, but you love everything else about him, his leadership, the voice he has, all that kind of stuff. Just the kind of stability he's brought to that room that's kind of been shaky. He's been very reliable, besides these injuries this year. So, I don't expect him to be back, but I honestly don't see anything wrong with what he said. And of course, I'm sure I'm not on Twitter, so, and now you're not. I can only imagine how this like blew up on there, and people were arguing back and forth about it because they argue back and forth about him constantly for the last 3 years now. So I can only imagine it was like after this came out, but I just don't expect him to be here, and that's not a knock on him. It's just the cap number is what it is with the NFL being a business the way it is.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think right after these tweets, Brad Stainbrook, who does an excellent job at the OBR, and he will actually be in Indy. So I'm actually, going to be looking forward to what he's going to get in terms of information and rumors at the combine. He had reported that the Browns and Clutch Sports, who, lo and behold, they represent Cleveland athletes. Surprise, surprise. They represent Landry. They're going to meet at the combine. I would imagine the Browns already have an idea like what they would like Landry to restructure to. I think they want him in Cleveland. He wants to be in Cleveland. My thing is, I think Landry wants to be in Cleveland at the number he's at. And this reminds me of Joe Hayden back in, I want to say it was 2017 was the year we cut him. The Browns had asked him to take a pay cut. They obviously declined. The Browns went ahead and cut Hayden before the 2017 season, which sparked outrage. And he turns around and signs with Pittsburgh. I think it's going to go like that again. The Browns are going to ask Landry to restructure his deal, lower the cap number. Maybe they offer a 1 to 2 year extension. Maybe they spread that money, that $16 million out, maybe add a little more. But ultimately, I think they part ways. Landry goes and signs with somebody, and they just move on. With you, Landry's not a game changer, but he's solid at what he does. He came to Cleveland, changed the culture, whether people want to agree or disagree. Yeah, the Browns had to overpay when they got him because Miami franchise tagged him. So we already knew that the cap number was going to be high when they re-signed him to an extension. He did a lot. He just didn't do as much as his contract. We expected him to because of his contract, making $15-16 million a year. We expected him to be maybe a number one elite wide receiver. Well, he was never that. He was a solid number two, one of the best slot receivers in the league, but he did his job. And unfortunately, this past year, his role diminished because obviously of the nagging injuries. And, the writing has been on the wall that he was probably going to be cut unless they can come to a restructure, which, that still could happen. It seems like it's less likely that it's going to happen now that it's gone public, like, oh, the ball's in Cleveland's court. It just seems like he's trying to put pressure on Cleveland for some reason. And I just think we're heading towards a separation, which is unfortunate that it has to end this way. But like you said, Anthony, this is part of the NFL. It's a business at the end of the day. And sometimes you have to make tough business decisions. And this is going to be a tough one because the fans love Jarvis so much. Jarvis embraced Cleveland, and it seems like he still loves Cleveland a lot. But it just seems like we're heading towards a separation.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm looking at it right now, and I should look at it before we start. Is it? It doesn't matter like when we cut him, right? Because I think that the dead cap is the same when they do decide to make that decision. So this is something that could go on for all summer, really, because obviously the Browns are looking to improve the wide receiver room, and I expect that, and I think most of us do, that they're going to address that in free agency and probably the draft, maybe even in the trade as well. So this is a decision that can wait until training camp, after training camp. There's really no need to hurry up and make a decision, and it might not be fair to Landry, but it's Barry and the Browns, if they're not able to get everything they want in free agency or the draft, there's still this fallback that they could have. So I certainly don't see this decision being made anytime soon.
I unfortunately think it's going to. I think he's pretty much got one foot out the door at this point, unless the Browns are like, hey, we'll bring you back at $16.3 million. I don't see that happening. But if say they don't get what they want and they go through the combine and say, hey, there's not a chance we're going to be able to sign one of these top free agent wide receivers, let's just bring Landry back. Let's work on something with him potentially. But I feel like probably by this time next week, we'll know for sure that Landry's probably going to be cut. I feel like they're going to have that sit down right away, and we're going to know that he's not going to be a member of the Browns. And I don't think they're going to essentially hold him hostage because you don't want to do bad business, especially with agents around the league. If they have other clients that, potentially would want to come to Cleveland, whether that's in free agency or the draft, you don't want to do bad business. If they can't come to a restructure of Landry's deal, I would certainly think they're going to cut him and let him get to free agency, because if he has a chance to go out and make 8-9 million per year on a deal, you don't want to let him, you don't want to hold him and then wait till the money dries up.
Is 8-9 million what you would pay him to extend him? Is that the cap number you'd be like the ceiling of the cap number you'd want?
I was talking to Duffin about this earlier this week when these tweets came out, and I think we both agreed like 8 million per year would probably be the max Landry would get now on the open market, which is what I would be fine with if they like said, hey, we'll spread this 16.3 million out, add another year on, so he would essentially make like a little over 8 million per year this year and next. I would be okay with doing that. And I think, I don't remember if Jack did. I'd have to go back through my messages, but I thought he was be okay with that as well.
Yeah, I mean that still seems kind of reasonable. I that would certainly free up a nice chunk of money, for free agency this season. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Browns in free agency in regards to the wide receiver room and Clowney, and that's obviously something that we have to talk about more. Is the deadline for the franchise tags in 10 days or so? March, that first week in March. So there's certainly decisions that have to be made there as well. But yeah, I think that 8 million is a good number to get to. They can certainly guarantee more of that money, so it kind of make it inviting for him to sign an extension, whether it's like a 2-year or 3-year thing at around 8 per year. Maybe like, I don't know, Duff is good at this, 16, 17 guaranteed of that. So maybe that would be good for both sides. But I would at least wait till after the draft to make any sort of decision on Landry, if he doesn't resign before then.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I just feel like we're already heading towards like it's going to happen before free agency. And hopefully, maybe the Browns have done some back channel stuff already and have a wide receiver, like they've already had, closed door discussions with an agent like, hey, Mike Williams or Allen Robinson or somebody. I feel like they're going to sign a free agent wide receiver to help, ease the pain of letting Landry go. So we'll definitely see. And, Anthony, I have to ask this question because that first tweet that Landry put out talking about his injuries, and then he says, "You never heard me mention anything about it." Is he taking a dig at Baker?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible. I know how these things can get played out. Just look at like Kyler Murray in Arizona right now. All the stuff on social media. So I don't know. Possibly, maybe, probably. I just don't know.
Yeah, I found that fascinating, and I was talking to my buddy about it, and we were like, I was kind of on the fence, like maybe he wasn't, but how these things go. They throw shade at people all the time, these athletes do. So, I mean, the way he said it, you never heard me mention anything about it, just makes me wonder, like, Landry didn't complain about his injuries. He didn't use it as an excuse. He just worked his butt off to be ready and go out there and play. Not saying Baker didn't, but, it seemed like those injuries got used a lot more as an excuse for Baker, and like guys like Landry, guys like Treader, other guys that dealt with injuries all year. They didn't let that be an excuse for their potential poor performances they had on the field. So I just thought that was interesting. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but we'll never know. I mean, it's it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. I think we'll know something within the next week about Landry's future with the Browns. I'm glad you mentioned franchise tag because it totally slipped my mind, Anthony. The franchise tag window did open up on the 22nd. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw this question out to you because there could be two potential candidates for the franchise tag with the Browns. Defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, and I would say potentially tight end David Njoku. Because both of those guys are probably our two biggest free agents this offseason. Browns are hopeful they can retain both. We'll see here in the next couple weeks. I'm sure Andrew Berry will have meetings lined up with their respective agents at the Combine in Indy. The tight end projected franchise tag value is $11 million. For defensive ends, it's $17.5 million. Anthony, if you had to pick one that you would give the franchise tag to, who would it be?
This is difficult because
it really is.
I feel like Njoku has like barely touched his true potential as a player. And on the other side of the ball, the way Clowney and Miles played together this season was incredible. I would probably go with Clowney, I think. I would rather have that set at least for another year. And, on the other side with the tight end, you have Hooper under contract still, which I don't think he'll be here. But if they can't retain Njoku, then maybe he will be. You have Harrison Bryant. So, there's at least a fallback at the tight end position. There isn't one at defensive end. Other than obviously Myles Garrett, but other than after Myles Garrett and you lose Clowney, there's like nobody. So I think that's why I would go that way.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite of you. I'm going to say they tag Njoku because I do feel like you said, I don't think he's reached the surface yet. I have a feeling they're going to try to get out of this deal with Hooper, which they can if they put tag him as a post June 1st cut, which they can do actually early. I didn't realize that, but they can do this early in the process. He'll be on the books until after June 1st, and they'll cut him, which will lessen the dead cap hit. But even if they let Jadeveon Clowney go, I feel like they can go out and get a solid veteran for a year, maybe even 2 years on a pretty decent contract. And then if they wanted to, at 13, draft an edge like Karlaftis out of Purdue, Ojabu out of Michigan, Jeremiah Johnson out of Florida State, who's starting to climb up the boards. Interested to see how he's going to perform at the Combine. But then you have a solid veteran. Then you have a rookie who you can groom behind him and Miles. And then you have a solid 1-2 punch going forward here in the next couple years with Miles and then the young player. And you might even get a guy like that in the second round that can accompany Miles going forward into the future. So as much as I like Clowney, feel like they can go out and get somebody else in free agency, but I don't want to let Njoku go. So if we had to do it, I don't know the likelihood of them tagging somebody here, but I would rather tag Njoku than tag Jadeveon.
Now, I will say this, and I'll see if you agree with this one. I feel like before free agency, they are way more likely to get a deal done with Njoku than Clowney. Like, I feel with how Njoku expressed his interest in wanting to be here, I feel like before free agency and before you have to make that franchise tag decision, I feel like there's going to be a deal that gets done between both parties.
I would agree because when we've seen this with Clowney the last couple of years, he kind of seems to want to wait. He did say it's all about the money at the end, which I like his honesty in that way because a lot of guys say it's not about the money, it's about the fit, it's about a chance to go win. I mean, a lot of these guys go out there looking for the big money deal, and Clowney earned it last year. I think he's going to get a multi-year deal, but he's had the time. He's had the time the last couple of years to where he's waited out for a deal. I don't feel like the Browns are going to be willing to wait for him. I feel like they're going to be like, hey, this is the deal we're offering you. If you don't want it, we're going to go in another direction. Whereas Njoku, we don't know what his market's going to be like. He might, go out and sift it, see what he can get, and then bring it back to the Browns like, here's this offer. Will you guys be willing to match it? Because I want to stay here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Not only with them, but across the league. There's going to be interesting guys potentially getting the franchise tag. So that's until March 8th. So maybe we'll have some clarity next week at the Combine. Some of our friends are out there, Jared Mueller, Brad Stainbrook, who would love to get on this podcast someday just because he's been killing it with inside information over at the OBR. But I think there's a couple other people heading out to Indy as well. So hopefully we'll get some good info from one of our insider friends here next week at Indy.
You know what we need to do, Jack? Next year we need to go to Indy for the Combine.
I would say that, Anthony, but the rumor has been, and I don't know if they're still doing this. They were talking about moving it out to Los Angeles. So, maybe
I thought you were going to say Vegas. I would totally go to Vegas for a week and do the Combine. I think that'd be a great spot for it.
It would be. But, LA, they got that giant structure now with SoFi Stadium. NFL media is connected to it. They were talking about moving it all out there, but maybe after the Combine we can get, Jared, as we have over the years on, maybe he'll have some clarity on the future of the Combine and where are they staying in Indy or are they moving elsewhere?
That'll be interesting. I'm curious. Speaking of Vegas, I know you and I are both big wrestling fans. I wonder when that stadium is going to get WrestleMania. I would imagine soon.
Yeah, I mean they're getting Money in the Bank this summer, so but yeah, I would feel like are they getting WrestleMania? No, not next year. That's in LA. I don't know, but I would imagine it's on the minds of McMahon and.
Well, let's see. This year it's in Texas. Next year it's in LA. They'll probably do an East Coast city, whether that be New York or Florida or New Orleans again. Even though New Orleans isn't really East Coast, but it's east enough.
Yeah.
And then I could probably see Vegas the year after that. So
yeah, it's coming. I mean, they've done SummerSlam. They're doing Money in the Bank. I would imagine WrestleMania is.
I will absolutely go to Vegas for WrestleMania. I will be going to that one.
And then like WrestleMania 2031, hopefully we'll be in that brand new facility on the lake in Cleveland. I'm sorry, I'm dreaming. So
that would be nice.
It definitely would be.
Yeah, I know. We didn't get to talk about that, but with Tennessee looking to build a new stadium, that one's exactly the same age as First Energy. So, those talks, especially with how the Haslams have talked about improving the lakefront down there and doing different things, I'm curious to see if it's going to happen or not.
I'm sure we'll know more as it gets closer, but yeah, they are, renovating stuff on the lake. We'll see. I mean, like it's tough to say. We just don't know what the plan is. Speaking of stadiums, and this is our last topic of the show. The Browns announced this week that season ticket prices are going up again. It's the fifth time in the last 14 years that they've upped the prices. I seen an article, it might have been Barstool, saying this is the fourth year in a row that ticket prices have gone up. Anthony, as a season ticket holder, I'm sure you told me you wanted to talk about.
You cut out. I lost you.
Where did I stop? Because it said it was muted.
You told me you wanted to talk, and that's where you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, everybody, for that. I'll cut this out, so no biggie. But the last thing you wanted to talk about was season ticket prices were going up, which is an interesting topic as always. When the Browns come off a poor season, they went 8-9. Obviously, no playoffs, but ticket prices go up, so obviously fans are going to vent. And Anthony, you're being a season ticket holder, you wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to give you the floor on this and let you share your thoughts and feelings on it.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. When I bought my tickets, it was before the 2019 season. the year after Baker's debut. It was before they traded for OBJ, and the buzz really kicked off. Those tickets cost me $50 per seat per game, and we have 2 tickets, so $1,000 for the season. This year, and the gradual increase over the last 4 years, they're going to be $80 per seat per game, so $1,600. So it's gone up $600, and I guess this will be our 3rd season since we skipped the pandemic year, and we just kind of rolled over the tickets to the next year, which was nice of them to let us do that. So, it's obviously a tough thing when they raise the ticket prices, So in with this being our 3rd season, they've gone up by $30 per seat, so getting close to almost doubling in price. Probably be there in the next couple of years, and if they build a new stadium like 5 years from now, I can only imagine like what those ticket prices would be. But I really get the frustration, and I am partly there too. But just with the demand that there has been for season tickets over the last few years, the waiting list that's been going on, I'm definitely not surprised. Because if people decide not to renew their season tickets, then there's all these people on the wait list that are going to happily go after that. So, I know that the Browns tickets are still, I think they said, in the bottom third of the league price wise for the season. But that's all nice, but that's just kind of the market the Browns are in. Yeah, it's frustrating, but I get it too. It's just how things go. When the team is good and there's high expectations, the prices are going to go up. If they're terrible for the next 10 years, which I really hope not, they'll stay the same or even go back down. So, it's like, how many times, over the last 5, 6, 7 years have the prices of Indians or Guardians tickets fluctuated, from them being pretty bad to being really good and going to the World Series. So it's a lot of money to go to one of those games, a baseball game when the Guardians are really good. Same thing for the Cavs now. So when your team is good, you're going to pay more. So I get why they're doing it. Not thrilled about it, but I totally understand it.
Yeah, I was reading, the Browns statement on it, and they did point out that the last 3 years they've sold out their season ticket capacity. You mentioned there's a waiting list, there's 7,500. To put in context, Green Bay's, and this was as of 3 years ago, was like 137,000 people on their waiting list. So if Browns fans are frustrated that they have to wait for season tickets, imagine being a Packers fan and potentially never getting season tickets. Like, that's how crazy it is between, comparison between the two teams. Season ticket starting prices only went up $5 from last year, which doesn't seem that bad. So that's what, between, because you pay for the preseason games, right?
Yeah. So I guess they can kind of get around it because every 2 years you're getting an extra regular season game, but it's still the same amount of home games every year. So this year there'll be 2 preseason home games and then the 8 regular season home games, as opposed to last year where there was 1 preseason home game and then the 9 regular season home games.
Right. So that's an extra $45 if you're starting out as a season ticket holder. And then it says 50% of all non-club and premium season tickets are increasing by $10. So that's an additional at $90, $100 if you're in that range. So it doesn't seem that bad, but I like you, Anthony. I get the frustration. It was high expectations last year, low results, obviously going 8-9 and missing out on the playoffs. But the team has high expectations. Obviously, the demand is there for tickets. And you compared it to the Guardians were playing well. Their season ticket prices went up. I think the Cavs actually went up the first 2 years after LeBron left this last time around, and then they finally, I don't think they raised them, but I would expect they're going to raise them this year because they're heading towards the playoffs, might win 50 games, might have home court in the first round of the playoffs. Like, expectations are going to go up, and so will ticket prices, and that's what happens with sports teams. And the fact that they're still among the lowest in the league, it should be fortunate for Browns fans, because it could be ridiculous where they'd be paying more thousands and thousands of dollars for season tickets. But at the same time, if that happens, that means the Browns are consistent playoff contenders. And I think we would all take that, for as ridiculous as the price for tickets are.
I will happily pay $200 per game if the Browns win like three Super Bowls. Like, fine, take my money. We're good.
Right. I mean, look at Bengals fans. They waited 31 years to go to the Super Bowl and had to spend 5 figures for Super Bowl tickets out in LA. I mean, that just shows if you're that passionate and you're willing to do it, you'll pay out the cash to go watch, your team, whether it's at your home stadium, whether it's going on the road for a playoff game or going to the Super Bowl. I mean, fans will do it, and that's why the prices keep going up.
Yeah. There's always that demand because there's only so many football games every year. So the demand's always going to be there, and that's why they can charge what they can charge.
Yep. And to put into context for the Browns fans, next year's home schedule, obviously we get the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens. The Chargers are coming to town. The New England Patriots are coming to town. The New Orleans Saints. You do have the New York Jets, who I think we all would expect to take the next step, hopefully, with Zach Wilson at quarterback and the young team that they're building around him. And then you get Tampa Bay, which Tom Brady might come back. They might go out and get another top quarterback, but they have a solid team still there in place. So not a bad list of teams that are coming to First Energy Stadium. So could be well worth those uptick in season ticket prices.
Yeah, and it's possible that these can certainly turn into wins because obviously Tampa losing Brady. Who knows what process they're going to go through if he truly does stay retired.
Right.
The Jets aren't great. The Chargers are a good team. The Jets, the Saints, we'll see. There's certainly a lot of work to do on those two teams. The Patriots are the Patriots, so we'll see how that one turns out. But there's certainly some good opportunities to see wins next year at home, and they've obviously beaten Cincinnati so many times in a row now. They've been playing Baltimore tough at home and Pittsburgh tough. So, look, you obviously want to protect your home field, and there's certainly an opportunity for them to win, like 5 or 6 of those home games next year. I'm sure, they got a good shot at being in all of them. But if they win 6 or 7 of those 8 home games, then I don't think you'll hear anybody complaining about prices at that point.
No, not at all. As we wrap things up, Anthony, is there anything else Browns related that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think I'm all good.
All righty. We will plug our Twitters, even though we're not really active on Twitter right now, but you guys can follow Anthony at Anthony Joki. Joki is Joki. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack McCurry 08, and you can follow the Dogland at the Dogland. And also go check out thedogland.com. Go check out Jack Duffin's off-season roster deep dive series, Alex Hale's mock draft 1.0. And we will have some more content coming up here the next couple weeks with free agency, with any trade rumors or news that pertains to the Browns. So we'll definitely be pumping out some content there. And we will be back probably next week to talk about some of the things we saw during the combine. If there's anything notable that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry said when they meet with the media, and if there's any juicy Browns rumors to talk about. So until next time, as always, as we get on out of here, go Browns.